welcome to the Medicine Show. It's summertime, which is a great time for being outdoors, being out in the woods, but there are also some less pleasant things that go along with summertime, namely ticks, mosquitoes, poison ivy, and sunburns. So in this episode of the Medicine Show, I'm going to be talking about some of the things that we can do to prevent these situations and to make them better if they happen. This is a tick. Specifically, this one is a Lone Star tick. As you can see, it's got 4 legs on each side of its body, so it's more closely related to a spider than an insect. Ticks hang out in tall grass and underbrush, and when a person or animal passes by, they climb aboard, crawl around on you until they find a nice snug place and bite a hold of you and start drinking blood. Here's an infographic from the Centers for Disease Control showing different types of ticks that you might find around here. Each of them is capable of carrying various different diseases, and they're all different sizes. Although any tick bite is capable of transferring pathogens, disease-causing organisms, it is useful to note that those that are believed to be most risky for transferring bacteria are ones where the tick has been attached for a long time, and ones where in the process of removal the tick is squeezed and blood from the tick flows back into the body. So as far as prevention goes, it can be a good idea to wear protective clothing. You might want to consider using some sort of bug spray, which we'll have a recipe for later in this video. Check yourself frequently for ticks, and should you find one attached, the best thing to do is using tweezers or fingernails if you have them, grab it right where it's attached to the skin and pull it off. Don't squeeze the body of the tick, and do not burn it or apply any sorts of chemicals or essential oils or anything like that to try and get it to dislodge itself. Any of those things can distress it and cause it to vomit the contents of its stomach back into your bloodstream or into your tissues, which would facilitate transmission of disease if the tick is a carrier. This is a mosquito, arguably the deadliest of all wild creatures, since mosquito-borne diseases are a very common cause of death worldwide. I'm going to assume that everyone is familiar with mosquitoes and how annoying they are, and I'm just going to say that lemon eucalyptus is a remedy for preventing mosquitoes, which has in recent years been recognized by the CDC and the World Health Organization as being as effective as synthetic pesticides for keeping mosquitoes off of your body. Protective clothing and mosquito netting around where you're sleeping can also be helpful, and it's also possible to treat that mosquito netting with mosquito repellent, natural or otherwise. Anyone can get a sunburn, but they are especially common for light-skinned people who live in sunny places. Most sunburns are not very serious, but they can be painful. In cases where they blister, they are at risk for infection, and they can possibly be something that leads to worse skin damage and possibly abnormal cells developing in the skin later on. Wearing protective clothes, limiting sun exposure, and or using a mineral-based sunblock can be helpful in preventing sunburns. And later in the video, I'm going to show a recipe for a burn gel that I make with aloe that is useful for sunburns and other burns. This is poison ivy in its most familiar configuration. It's a vine, it grows up the sides of trees, and it has these leaves that are grouped in threes. Basically, it's a single leaf consisting of 3 leaflets. That's one leaf right there. So the old rhyme is leaves of 3 leave it be, but there are a lot of other plants that can be mistaken for it. So you notice that it's a vine, that it has these 3 leaflets, that the edges of the leaves are toothed or scalloped or lobed. They're not smooth all the way around the edges of the leaf. And it has a woody stem. It's also very common to find poison ivy growing like this, looking like a small tree or shrub. In this part of the country, it is sometimes called poison oak when it grows like that, because it has lobed leaves like an oak tree has. Although in most of the country, the term poison oak actually refers to a separate but related species. So things aren't always what they seem. This is poison ivy. It has a leaf consisting of 3 leaflets, and if you look at the stem, those leaflets are arranged in an alternate pattern. One attaches on this side, then one attaches a little further up on this side, another one on this side, and another on this side. They're not straight across from each other. There's a little space between them. And this will become a vine if it gets a chance, but right now it's just sort of a freestanding shrub. This is not poison ivy. This is actually a maple tree. This is Acer negundo, which around here we call ash-leaved maple. Sometimes people also call it box elder. And it will become a large tree. But you can see that where the leaves are attached to the branches, they will split off like basically right across from each other sometimes. And let's see, it has red all along the petiole, the stem that the leaflets are attached to, whereas this will usually have a little bit of red right there, but it won't be red all along it usually. And then this, which also has 3 leaflets together here, is a blackberry. And you can tell that it's something different because it has thorns, and it doesn't always have 3 leaflets. It's often arranged like this. This is another plant that is not poison ivy. This is Virginia creeper. It has usually 5 leaflets per leaf. It also attaches to a kind of hairy vine that grows up trees or grows along the ground, just like poison ivy does. And you'll often find it in the same areas as poison ivy, but it's not at all the same thing. And rounding out our list of things that aren't poison ivy, this is a plant called tick trefoil. And it has 3 leaves together like this, and it is also a vine, but it's actually a very soft plant. And if you look at the edges of the leaf here, they're not toothed or scalloped at all. It's just a smooth margin around the edge of each leaflet. And so this one is nothing to be worried about, but it does have little sticky seed pods that will stick to your clothing. Poison ivy loves to grow right along the edges of paths so that anyone who strays from the path is stricken by its venom. It's part of how it protects developing ecosystems. So this is jewelweed, and it is widely used as a remedy for poison ivy. It's a good thing to use after you've been exposed, even after you've washed it off. If you can, crush this up. It has a sort of slippery gel inside it, kind of like aloe, but is also an antihistamine, and it's soothing to poison ivy and helps, if you get it on before it breaks out, it helps to prevent it from breaking out. So now I wanted to talk about some simple remedies that you can make to use for some of these issues that I've talked about. And one thing for the mosquitoes as well as the ticks is just a simple spray. And this can be made by mixing lemon eucalyptus and scented geranium oil with a carrier of alcohol and water and putting it in a spray bottle. The proportions that I use are 10 milliliters of lemon eucalyptus oil, 5 milliliters, that's like half of a 10 milliliter bottle, of scented geranium oil, adding those to 250 milliliters of alcohol, that's at least 75% alcohol, and then mixing that with another 250 milliliters of water. So if you add the oils to the alcohol, they are rendered more soluble, and then that whole mixture can mix with the water, and then it won't separate on standing, and you can use that to spray down your clothes, shoes, and yourself. The pyrethrins in the geranium repel the ticks, and the lemon eucalyptus oil repels the mosquitoes. Another favorite remedy of mine for summertime first aid is this burn gel, which is made out of aloe gel and vanilla extract. The aloe gel is soothing to burns. The vanilla extract is a burn-specific pain reliever. If you're making it from whole aloe, you peel the aloe, scrape the inside with a dull knife to get the liquid to come out. You don't want to be tearing it up into chunks. You just want to be scraping it and causing the liquid to run out. And then you add about a ½ ounce of pure vanilla extract per cup of extracted aloe gel, and keep that refrigerated to have it last longer. If it's unrefrigerated, it will last about 5 days or so, and if it's refrigerated, it will last weeks. I'm not exactly sure how long. Another simple but very useful remedy is called tincture of green soap. And this is originally made out of hemp oil soap that has been rendered using potash rather than lye. And so it is a less intense type of soap. It's not a detergent, and it's not a very harsh soap. It's a very mild soap. The way that it is made is by combining about 1 part of grated soap, and if you're not making your own soap out of hemp oil and mugwort ashes, you can just get something like Kiss My Face soap that's very mild, and use about 4 ounces of soap, or 1 part soap to 12 ounces or 3 parts of a 30% alcohol solution. 30% alcohol, 70% water, and combine the two, and the soap dissolves. And this is something that you can use to cleanse poison ivy off your skin. It has a wide variety of first aid uses as a cleaning and disinfecting sort of thing. But in the field, what you can do is you can get some cotton rounds from the makeup section, which are just round pieces of cotton, and you can soak them in this and put them in a Ziploc bag, carry that with you. If you run into some poison ivy and you realize you've been exposed, you can use these to wipe it off, and that will help to remove it and neutralize it until you can get to a place where you can more definitively wash yourself. And because it's a very mild, gentle soap, it won't irritate your skin, at least not for most people. I hope you've enjoyed this installment of the Medicine Show. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the form of a comment. And if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe and tell your friends about it. Thanks a lot. Bye.